My name is Felipe Quintanilla, and I'm a professor in the Department of Languages and Cultures within the Faculty of Arts and Humanities. And today I want to talk to you about what I see as a connection between the work that we do in the arts and humanities and social justice and equity. Particularly, I want to tell you a little bit about the work that we do. I teach film, I teach literature, theater, I teach poetry, but I also am involved as a professor in the Department of Languages and Cultures. I also do work in oral visual history of the Salvadoran Civil War. And as a member of the Surviving Memory in Post-War El Salvador group, I'm also involved in this initiative that is an international partnership of survivors, scholars, and students like yourselves, artists, lawyers, architects, community organizers, municipal governments, civil society organizations, and mental health professionals, right? From all over the world and together we are thinking about this need to document the history of the Salvadoran Civil War, which occurred between 1980 and 1992. And not only to think about this conflict and the many social injustices that occurred during this period, but also in a way so that we can create spaces, again, together with communities themselves, of healing and resiliency, and as a way to think about ways to prevent future violence. So the way we think about our work as a research group is to step away from the traditional extractive way of working, whereby professors and scholars would go to these previously war-torn countries and take information, take stories from these communities in order to publish them in journals and never come back to the communities, right? And so what we propose ourselves to do as a multidisciplinary team is to think about the ways we can work in a decolonial, horizontal, and participatory way, right? And so our goal is to create this high impact rather than just create information gathering and publishing. Again, we're thinking about the impact that this work could have in as a community-driven research project, right? As whereby we could think about oral history, accessible knowledge sharing, right? In order to do this memory work that's holistically thinking through the intersections of justice, art, music, theater, intergenerational education, right? To think about how we can keep this sort of stories alive for future generations, right? Through the documentation of testimonies, again, also thinking about mental health and healing, commemoration strategies, environmental reparation in these spaces of war where the environment had been severely impacted, right? And local economic reconstruction, right? Always thinking of it towards the future. So our team, again, comes from the different parts of the world. And for our team, right, our thinking is that we're committed to recovering wartime narratives, which means working in solidarity with Salvadorans, recovering stories from the bottom up, right? Through community involvement, through their own, again, the community's own desires and processes, right? In order to support this intergenerational education and participatory methodologies. So what I see as a sort of the special approach of the arts and humanities, or what we as humanists can bring to the table, right, to this international team of scholars and students and community activists, right, is our training and engaging with the word, right, with stories and the study of culture, right, of the arts, right. More specifically, my students and I were able to work with these audiovisual recordings that we create in collaboration with the different communities. These stories then can be transcribed, right, by put them into the word into the page, right, and then of course this is so that the communities themselves can have this record of the stories, right, for future generations. And the translation aspect is so that, again, following the survivors' wishes, so that the international community may also know about the injustices that occurred and the stories of survival and resiliency, right? And so again, our special approach in the through the arts and humanities angle is to be able to engage with the word, right, at its root, right, and to think about how we can help facilitate and collaborate with communities at the grassroots level in order to create these spaces of artistic and cultural creation, right, where the communities themselves can create visual art, poetry, short stories, theater, right, and so beyond, again, the recordings of their testimony, which is fundamental and beautiful, and the transcription and translation of these testimonies, but also, of course, these spaces of future of creation of these cultural artifacts that are just as important, right, for thinking about the future and survival and resiliency and future generations.